In 2006, a dynamic dance duo formed to take on the world. This Anglo-Australian partnership promptly traveled the globe, learning from the masters of dance. If no one else has the answers, and if you can find them, maybe you should get in touch with Dizzyfeet.
If you've got the questions,
we've got the answers. I think we're live, Kel.
Are we?
I think we're live. Good evening, everybody.
How come there's nothing on that screen?
Because that's the studio mode. Don't worry about that. That's what you've got to be looking at, which is
That's
live.
not normally like that, though, is
Yes, it is. Yes, it is when you're in studio mode. Yes, because I've not queued anything up to be there next. Did you hear that crack, everyone? Did you hear that crack?
That was my
Don't look at
neck.
that one. Look at that one.
Oh yeah, I keep looking at the wrong one. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
Sorry.
So yeah, we're here. We're live. We're in the room.
We have internet.
We have internet. Yes, we have internet. There was a very troublesome moment this afternoon during lunchtime, actually, about 12:20, when there was a cry from downstairs that YouTube was on the loading screen. So Ella was watching one of her little videos that she likes to watch, and it was still loading, and she was very perturbed and upset. And it's because the internet wasn't working, so we thought it was us. No, it was the street. So they sent an engineer out. Otherwise, it was going to be tomorrow if it was just us. But because there was many people with the problem, they sent out an engineer. We weren't special enough on our own.
No.
So they sent out an engineer to fix it. And it was great. I saw the little fella at the top of the road in his fluorescent jacket. In real time, I saw him fixing it in real time.
Did you?
Yeah. Got rosy cheeks tonight, Kel.
I do a bit.
Just got out of the shower, haven't you? At least you're clean, wearing my cardigan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be pleased to know.
So it's good night. It's good night. It's good
night.
evening.
See you then.
It's good evening from me.
It's good evening from him.
Yeah. So I hope you're all well.
Oh, that was tired.
Yeah, you've had such a busy day, haven't you?
I haven't today. Yesterday I was
Such
busy.
a busy day.
I was very tired after yesterday.
I'm just going to move the camera slightly because we're offset. You still want us to be a bit more
Oh,
centralised.
you look massive.
Wow. There we go. It's a bit better, a bit more central now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so another Friday night question and answer session. The questions have already been flooding in, Kel.
Have they?
Flooding. Positively flooding. So Sarah Ball has already asked a couple. And first of all, she said, good evening, Benny Hill and wife. So
Benny Hill and wife.
I do apologise for the Wednesday night. Those of you that tune in on a Wednesday for my solo class, I'm really sorry that the recap video didn't work. I'm bitterly disappointed because I don't like things to not work like that. And who'd have thought it would have been a time-lapse video? But, you know, you make do with what you've got. And I thought that the Benny Hill music was quite apt. You thought it was alright, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't even notice at the end. At the end of that, it comes up with a record sleeve of Benny Hill's
Which you
Ernie album.
You adapted.
I adapted it and I changed some of the titles of the tracks on the record sleeve. So if you haven't noticed that, you can go back and have a little look at that. It's at the end of the video. You can pause it and have a look. So one of the first questions was who called Jim? Alan Pierce said, was he called Jim? Oh, was the engineer? I didn't see the engineer. He didn't come to the house. It was at the top of the road, so I didn't see him. It's a very funny question to ask.
Maybe he's referring to you. Maybe you went out and fixed
Maybe
it.
it was me. I did not fix it. I'm not good with that sort of thing. I can fix dancing, but I can't fix anything else, really. First question is, where did Kelly get the lovely black ballroom dress from? I'm not sure which one you mean.
I missed that. I saw the pink one. I saw the white one. I don't remember watching it.
Yeah, I'm not sure which picture it was.
Were
Were we dancing or posing? If we're posing, I think it's just a bought practice skirt with a top.
It might be. Yeah.
Or if it's the picture of us doing the left whisk at the ISTV Congress.
That is also a practice dress that I got for Chris Sam. So, yeah, if it was the skirt, if it's the dress, it was from Chris Sam. which I think I bought especially for that lecture, because we got asked to do it and I had nothing to wear because we'd not been dancing for a long time, because it was after I had Ella, and Ella was one, wasn't she?
Yeah.
We did that lecture.
Yeah.
So I had to get something.
Oh, posing. She says posing.
It might that's I think a practice.
Just a
skirt
practice skirt and a top.
Yeah, which I got. I think again from Chris Ann. Yeah, quite a few years ago though. So, yeah.
Get that dog and show everyone what you've done to him.
Why?
Poor thing.
It's not a poor thing.
Poor
it's
thing.
fine.
She sheared him.
I gave Buddy a haircut.
He's a shadow of the former dog that he once was.
He's not all fluffy anymore, but he's
No.
curly. I can't see where they can see. Here's Buddy. He's not that bad.
Yeah, he doesn't look as cute as he did. I mean, I'm not a big fan anyway, but he's not as cute
There
as
he
he
is.
once was.
But he can see now.
Yeah, I'm not keen on him. Don't
I love you. I love you.
don't let him lick my face. Right, another question. So I don't know the answer to that. So by the sound of things, we bought it at Chris Ann.
I think so.
It was either a two-piece skirt and a top, or a bought practice dress from Chris Ann as well. Ray asks a question, and I'm going to have to ask him a question. So he says, good evening. I was reading that the jive has some techniques taken from the salsa, swing, and tango. I was wondering what these might be. Me too. Me too. Swing I can understand. Swing is of the hips. I'd need a bit of context though, Ray. I'd need to know. Perhaps you could send me the link
I think it.
of what you were reading. I can just clarify what you mean, because I mean, there's all sorts of things that you can use across all of the dances that are useful in everything that you do.
Maybe it means more choreographically, because
Might be
jive does
yeah.
take influence from lots of things, doesn't it?
No, don't take that, brother, please.
What's he got? Oh.
He's got the tripod bag. Yeah, so if you could send me a link to that, Ray, so I can have a read of that myself, so I know exactly what. So we're on the same page. Sarah Ball's got another question.
Yep.
Buddy's got a competition for you. No. Buddy is not a competition for me.
In what respect?
Obviously, your attentions.
The attention I gave
Because
him.
I don't get any attention anyway, so it doesn't matter.
It is so.
Don't touch me. Don't touch my face.
I can give you a haircut.
Don't touch my. No. Well, you might have to.
He's
You might
getting
have
a little
to.
bit.
So don't fluff it
long.
out. Don't fluff it out.
I like the end bits like this. It's quite nice.
It's question and answer. This is all about.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah Balls asked quite an interesting question. Am I right that you need to practice a routine with a partner for Paso Doble very precisely, as the lady can't be led? You're both on your own. Entirely depends on the choreography, of course. That seems to have frozen up there. I don't know if we're frozen everywhere. No, I don't think we are frozen. No data, excellent connection. Did we freeze up for a second then? People will soon tell us if we did freeze up for a second. I didn't notice it.
Multi-skilled. See? Pooch perfect. Ross said.
However, someone else has said that.
What have you done to Buddy?
Yeah.
Don't be so mean.
So, yeah, Sarah, it all depends, actually. Maybe I should be easier actually in person with people, but you can lead people by physically touching, you can lead them by gesture, and you can lead them by shepherding, let's say, or blocking and that sort of thing. So there's all sorts of ways that you can lead. You don't physically have to put someone in their place. However, when you are holding on to someone, there's many figures in Paso Doble where you're in body contact. Well, not in body contact, but you're in contact.
You're in hold.
So you're in hold, so you will be led that way. So every dance is precise, to be honest, really. When you're dancing with someone, it's useful to know where you're going anyway, but of course your partner can place you, but providing they know where they're going. I mean, I'm an advocate of everyone knowing their job, of what they've got to do and where they've got to go, and then the partner can be a fallback, backup plan to help you to get into position and go where you need to go. If you're dancing solo, so if you're doing some shadow work where you're doing different things or going different directions and not being touched, again, it's very important that you know where you're going. So you know your start point, your finish point, and your journey in the middle of that. Ballroom, of course, you're always in someone's hold, so you still need to know where you're going and what you're doing. It's important.
I think leading and following are a two-way street now, aren't they?
Absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
it's not just as simple as being able to just pick someone up and dance with them. The lady also needs to learn how to lead and follow in some respects as well. So it's not as cut and dry anymore, is it? I think, especially if you're doing competitions, you know, some things are you're definitely doing because it's choreographed. I suppose at a certain level, you know, as you get better and better and develop as a dancer, then I think that can change somewhat, can't you? You get better at perhaps leading through not touching. Obviously, that's the hardest way to lead. If you're going to set yourself a challenge of, okay, we're going to dance together, but we're not going to touch. But I don't know what you're going to do, so I'm going to have to just respond to what you do. Then that's quite a high level. You know, you have to have a lot of confidence and a lot of understanding of what you're doing, I think, to be able to do that.
So it's a bit
But you can be done. You can lead someone and say, okay, let's do a rumba, but let's not know what the routine is. I'm just going to follow you.
Yeah.
But there's a certain amount of, I suppose, interpretation to that, and you wouldn't have complete control over what I chose to do. So.
Alan says presumably the leader is limited to his followers' knowledge of figures. Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Not necessarily.
To a
certain degree, yes, but not necessarily. Because if you allow yourself to relax and be passive, and your leader is good at placing you, as long as you understand where your leg goes in relation to your body, you should be able to follow. There are lots of people I've danced with in the past that haven't got a clue what I'm doing and yet still stay with me because they've got this intrinsic quality of movement, which again, learning how to move with quality and to transfer your weight from foot to foot easily is a skill you need to learn, but again, not necessarily.
I think a certain amount of confidence comes with that as well. Just being confident enough to just be led. Some people get very uncomfortable if, let's say, James says, okay, then let's do a waltz. So what are we going to do? Well, I'm just going to make it up as I go along. I've gone croaky. A lot of people would suddenly get uptight, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
So then, of course, you can't be led if you're uptight.
If you're anxious, you can't be tight.
So you do have to be quite relaxed about it.
Yeah. It's much easier if you're relaxed. You're very noisy at drinking water as well.
Sorry.
You're noisy at eating nuts. That was back from last year when we were doing the quiz.
Okay.
Very noisy at drinking water.
You're very noisy at drinking water. It serves you right.
Alan, obviously when you do complicated choreography, of course it's important that you know what you're doing. I would never try and teach someone fancy or dance with someone fancy quick step without them knowing, unless they're experienced. Of course it's all relative. It's all relative, but in a basic sense, in a social dancing sense, generally speaking, if someone's got an understanding of just moving from foot to foot, then you should be able to place them. But certain things that are a bit more intricate, of course, no, you've got to know. You have to know what you're doing. So some people are asking when we're back in the studio. I don't know is the answer to that one. Your what's the word?
Guess?
Your guess, that's the one. Your guess is as good as mine. So from what we understand, group classes. So I haven't seen anything specific about dance studios actually.
Yeah.
To be honest, I haven't.
We're going
really
on
looked.
exercise at the moment.
Yes, we're going on. The gyms are allowed to open on the 12th of April, all being well. We're still waiting to find out whether or not one-to-one sessions will be allowed within the gym environment. Because if you're allowed to do a PT session one-to-one, then you should be allowed to do a dance session one-to-one. We operate in a gym, so
we envisage private lessons should be allowed to happen from the 12th of April.
Yep. Yeah. We're just waiting for clarification on that. Group classes. So exercise classes are due to start from the 17th of May. So we would be lumped into that as well, I would suspect, within the gym environment.
That's what
unless there's a different rule, I've no idea. I don't know.
But that's what we're assuming because they're similar activities, aren't they?
Yeah. So that's what we're looking at. I think, as far as I know at the moment. I mean, to be honest, if you want to, I've got keys. We'll just rock up next week. If you want, we'll just go in the back door. No problem. Yeah. Any more questions? So Ray's going to send me that link. Thank you, Ray. I look forward to reading that as well because I've never heard something. Well, yeah, I have to wait and see what it actually is. But it's
certainly choreographically, jive takes from lots of different things, doesn't it?
Yes.
You know, there are salsa-like moves in jive and stuff, so...
Sarah, so you're saying that they're doing private lessons right now, or they're booking private lessons from the 12th of April?
No, they're doing private lessons from 12th of April, she says.
Okay, well, I didn't quite understand it.
Well, I understand it.
Yes, you're Australian, and she's from Brighton, so perhaps there's some sort of intrinsic link. I just want to wait to clarification. I'm presuming we should be able to do private lessons from the 12th. However, who knows? I mean, I know of people that have been doing private lessons the whole time. So, you know, the whole time. There we go. Any more questions, dancing related? Anyone got anything? What we got here?
That's all about lessons.
Yeah, so
start.
what I'm planning to do, once we know what we can do, my plan is to then put up some sort of diary and then for people to book in advance if possible, to make sure that firstly you've got a guaranteed time for a lesson, and you know exactly what you're doing, and also it just gives us a little bit of a plan of what we can do and a route back to kind of normal work, and it gives us, well, perhaps gets us a little bit excited because we'll go, oh, I've got 5 lessons that day or something like that. It could be quite exciting to know what we've got coming, and so that it could help us moving forwards. So if people want to do private lessons, and we are allowed to do them, then we'll ideally book them in advance so that you know what's happening, which would be great. The gym won't, all being well, the gym won't have any classes either, so it means that we have the free reign of the studio completely. Temporarily, yeah, for a month at least. We can do it whenever we want, which would be super. Yeah. Can you check the doorbell,
The
lovelies?
doorbell. Yeah, it's probably run out of batteries.
Yeah, but don't worry, we'll be in there beforehand just to make sure everything's working properly. And ship show. We've got to go in and take the Christmas decorations down anyway. They're still up.
They might have done that.
No, he hasn't spoke to Mark.
Oh, okay.
No, they haven't taken the
They haven't been
decorations down
in.
yet.
Okay.
No, so yeah, quite possibly we'll do evening lessons, Ros. Yes, so quite possibly. As there's no classes, we will probably go in the evenings as well. Well, basically, I'd like to be working 12 hours a day. To be honest, from the 12th of April, I'm very happy to work 12 hours a day. Whoever wants lessons, I'll be up for it and doing it. This will only be from the 12th of April. Definitely will only be from February. What I'm talking about. I'll start again. I'll start again. That would be a cut.
Okay.
And I would start again.
Okay.
Yeah. So from the 12th of April, we will only be able to teach in Fareham. So our other venues are community venues, and I'm pretty sure they won't be open at all.
Again, we're waiting for clarification on that because there's no really mention of sort of leisure not leisure centres, but community centres.
Yeah, they won't be open. I pretty much guarantee it.
Yeah.
I guarantee it, they won't be open. So so if you wanted a lesson, it would be at our Fareham venue until they open back up again, which is a bit of a shame, but there we go. Yeah. Are you pretty confident about going book to Blackpool in August, or a bit nervous to book this soon? Well, I'm waiting to the absolute last minute to book anything for the British Championships in August. Our dance holiday, I'm still waiting to find out. I don't think it's going to happen. I haven't had confirmation from the hotel yet, but I don't think hotels are allowed to open yet, are they? I don't think hotels are allowed to open until a certain time. I'm not sure.
I didn't even think of that. I didn't think to
So
check.
The hotels aren't allowed to open, I'm pretty sure. So we
don't envisage the dance holidays.
The dance holiday won't be going ahead, so...
Yeah, because again, if you think that dance holidays is all about having a group of people in a room, which I don't think they're going to allow.
Yeah, they're not allowed, are they?
So even if it's all hand washing and all that stuff.
Yeah. It's all about groups, isn't it?
Yeah.
But they say about 1,000 people from July and stuff.
Weddings and stuff are still limited,
so
aren't they, to
30.
like 30 people and things like that. So
we don't know. I'm pretty sure it's not going to happen. Pretty sure it's not going to happen. Yeah. And Alan, I'm sure I can find space to fit you in for your annual lesson. You'll probably have to have 2 this year, because you didn't have one last year at all, did you? You have to have 2 lessons. Yeah. So Roz says she thinks hotels open in August.
Okay.
So so that's the case. If hotels are closed, then our dance holiday won't be happening, of course.
Yeah.
Margaret Latter says May the 17th hotels.
Oh, okay.
So our dance holiday is the end of April, so it means we won't be opening.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to cancel it. I'm not going to rebook it either
No.
for the time being until I'm fed up with. It's frustrating. Not fed up, wrong choice of words. I'm frustrated.
It's hard
with
to
booking
keep putting things off, isn't it?
Yeah, because also
we're probably better off waiting until everything's kind of normal again and then just start afresh.
Because in this environment as well, people are put off by booking or not as well. Then we don't know whether people are going to come, and
it's too uncertain.
Yeah, it's too uncertain. So we're better off waiting until it's a bit more.
Glastonbury is happening. When's Glastonbury?
Yeah, but I think that they have to be in a 2-metre square box. So that's kind of defeats the object of Glastonbury, doesn't it?
Glastonbury, you're supposed to do like moshing, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly.
You're supposed to literally be on top of each other.
That's a shame, Roz. Sorry about that. I'm sorry about that.
30 to a wedding.
Yeah.
You don't need 30 to a wedding. If we were getting married, we would have just...
Well, we didn't. We would have been fine for our wedding anyway.
Well, no, I know, but we would have just... Oh, come on, let's go register office.
Well, yeah.
Do it.
Yeah, quite.
But actually, we would have probably preferred to go somewhere else, somewhere warm.
Yeah.
And done it that way.
Yeah, yeah. Well, when we renewed our vows, that was the plan, but then it didn't really happen, did it?
No.
We went to Devon instead, which was quite nice though. It's a nice day, wasn't
lovely.
it?
We had a great day.
We did have a good day.
Both our weddings. We had a good day. I'm glad we did it that year, not 2020.
Yes. Oh yeah, I can imagine
that would have been a nightmare.
Yeah, it would have been. Right. So unless anyone's got anything pressing they want to ask us, I'm going to go ahead and put the little video on. This week I've put together a turn video for Ballroom Latin, so it covers all of the turns that you're going to encounter in regular dancing. Nothing too fancy, because of course there's all sorts of weird and wonderful things that you can do, but just the basic kind of turns. Cardboard box dance, Roz, yeah. Cardboard box, little box, big box, little box, big box.
Yeah. Let's go to each
That's
corner.
not it. That's push.
No, I
that's
know.
Push pineapple, shake the tree.
I don't know any of this stuff.
You did that. You don't know. That's Agadoo. You're not familiar with Agadoo, Kel?
No.
Ah, shame. Right. Okay.
I'm too young.
I'm going to put.
I can still say that.
I'm going to put the video on.
Things.
I'm going to put the video on. So this is what happens, Kelsey. You go down to this bit over here where it says studio mode. Press studio mode like that. We're on 2 screens. I'm just telling you. And then I select over here this bit. Okay, and then that then brings up this box, which will be that one, the video. And then I press transition, and they all see it's wonderful. Yeah, it's like a little broadcast suite. It's marvelous. Anyway. Arctic turns.
Arctic turns.
Oh, Arctic turns. Arctic turns, as in.
Arctic.
What's an Arctic turn?
That must be a
might be
Argentine tango one.
Anyway, there's no Arctic turns in my little turn video. However, I do hope you enjoy it. I'll see you. We'll both see you in about 30 or so minutes. We're going to go and cook our dinner. See you.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah, I hopefully have time. I haven't got to go to the shop this time, so it should all be done now. It should be
sure?
finished. Yeah, it should be finished in time.
Okay.
Right, see you in a bit. No, we won't. I'm back again. I've loaded up the wrong one. It's the wrong one.
No, you have to take back all that. See, you just do this. You just.
Yeah, well, what I did was, you see, I put the YouTube video on. So the video for here, one for YouTube, slightly different. The YouTube one's 4K. This one's only 1080p because of the stream and stuff. You see, so that's the reason. So, Arctic tern is a seabird.
A seabird. Oh. Okay.
Whatever. Didn't realise you were such a Twitter.
There's another word for that.
There is another word. Yeah. Right, here we go. This is definitely the video. See you in a bit.
Sorry.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 7 of my Learn in 30 series. Today we're going to talk about turn. Now every single dance that you do in Ballroom Latin has an element of turn in it. Nothing is dead straight in forward or backwards or even just sideways. So we've always got an element of turn as we go around the floor or as we do a routine like in cha-cha, jive or rumba that pretty static, but it's obviously going to turn around on the spot in which you're dancing. So it's important to understand the different types of turn, how we can apply it, and basically what it is. So we'll start with the easy turns first. And what I mean by easy is that you're doing them on your own, solo. That doesn't necessarily impact on your partner. Now, these are in the Latin dances, because whenever you do any kind of turn in ballroom, of course, you're going to impact on your partner because you're physically holding on to them. So in the Latin dances, you will, of course, be stood on your own on a number of occasions, and you may well do a turn. And to start with, there are only 3 types of turn that you can do on your own in Latin. And you've got a 3-step turn, a spot turn or turn under the arm, and a switch turn. There are, of course, other figures that turn as you move, but I'll address those separately in a moment. So to start with, the first one, the 3-step turn, it pretty much does exactly what it says on the tin. It's a turn with 3 steps. Now, a 3-step turn can turn all the way around, so you can do a whole turn. So I can do that towards the camera now, so I can go forward, turn, and I can step forward again. So it can have a whole turn, or depending on what you're doing choreographically, a 3-step turn can turn just a half, so you turn 180 degrees, or it can even turn less, of course. There will be times when you might have a spin, which goes all the way around, maybe twice. So there's 4 turns. I said there was 3, there's 4. So you may well have a spin, but to be honest, in basic figures, because these essentially, these little lectures are based around basic figures rather than more advanced actions, you wouldn't really have that in any kind of basic scenario, or even up to gold level. You wouldn't have any spins on the spot until you get into advanced stuff. So perhaps I was right the first time with 3, but we'll stick with 4. Anyway, so a spin on the spot, so that's just turning on the ball of your foot. Now you can do a whole turn, half turn, 25 turns, however many you want to do, however many you can keep doing without falling over. I nearly did then. So that's a spin. Let's forget that one for the moment, because it's unlikely you're going to be doing that one at the moment in your dancing necessarily. So a 3-step turn has 3 steps. The second step is a close. So you'll take a step in a given direction on a given foot. So I'm going to go forward on the left. My right foot then closes to the left. What happens is it's the lower half of my body that's making this happen. I'm closing my right hip to my left hip, and that allows me to turn around and then step out into whatever it is I'm going to do. What you don't want to do, which is I was a little bit guilty of then because I'm talking to the camera, is allowing your upper body to determine what you're going to do with a 3-step turn. If you let your upper body do it too much, you're going to fall off balance. I use this phrase a lot. You want activity downstairs, not upstairs. Sometimes you want activity upstairs and not downstairs. I'll come to that a bit later. But when we're doing a 3-step turn, I'm working on my actions downstairs. So I'm working on my legs and my feet and my hips. I close my right hip and my right leg to my left leg, and it allows me to spin forward to the left here. You could, of course, do that on the right foot. You go forward on the right, closing the left to the right, and then you step out. That's a 3-step turn. 3 steps, doesn't have to turn all the way around, can do, doesn't have to, can turn a half, can turn a quarter, could turn 3/4, as much as you want. Important though, on a 3-step turn, that you close your feet in the middle. Sometimes when you're doing a 3-step turn, you might not, so you could do something like this, 1, 2, 3. That is not, in a sense, a pure 3-step turn. You want to close your feet. It's a ball lead as well, ball flat lead as you come out of that, unless of course you're doing paso doble, which of course you will then do a heel lead. If you do more than one 3-step turn, again, you're probably unlikely to do this in basic figures, it's more advanced, you would only have 2 steps in the 3-step turns until the last one. So you'd have 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So I did 2 then, 2 consecutive turns. The first one had 2 steps, the second one had 3 steps. So when you finish, you'll have the 3rd step. But in a sense, if you're just doing 1, 3 steps. Right, moving on. You've got a switch turn. Now, this is something that ladies predominantly have, often in basic figures. So if I use a rumba action for a moment, so let's say, for instance, you've done a open hip twist and you've turned like that. So that would be, we class that as an element of a switch turn. So you've switched from one direction to another, but a pure switch turn is when you would come out of this into the fan position. You then step forward on the right foot, your feet are in place, you then turn like that and you switch very quickly to face the opposite direction. So there's a switch turn, then you would step back into fan. So that's a switch turn. So essentially a switch turn is when your feet are placed and you switch from one direction to the other. So that's switching from one side to the other. Switch turn. Again, all of that is done downstairs. I feel it's the hips that are turning. So in this instance here, I'm still on my right foot. I'm going to pull my left hip back to allow me to then step back on that left foot once I've done the switch. All downstairs, not upstairs. Don't use the upper body to do it because it'll spin you past your foot and then you'll have trouble balancing. The other turn that you've got is a spot turn or underarm turn. You'd use the same technique when you do this. As a lady dancer or a follower, you would turn under the arm. It's unlikely that a leader or a male dancer would do an underarm turn. Typically, it's the lady that does that. The man would turn her. But both roles can do a spot turn. But the technique's the same. The idea of it's the same. Whichever dance you're doing this in, it's going to be the same as well. So you'd have this in pretty much all of the dances. I've just had a thought actually. You would have a spin action essentially in a American spin in jive. That's a basic figure. So figures with what I said earlier. Turn on the ball of foot anyway when you do a spin. There we go. Just a turn on the ball of foot. And again, it's using the lower half to make it happen. Anyway, back to the underarm turn. So 3 steps again in an underarm turn. So if I'm going to turn to the right here, underarm or spot turn. You step across yourself. It's important to step across yourself. Don't overdo it with your upper body because again, you don't want to turn the upstairs too much. Step across yourself and then I feel like I untwist my legs and my hips, transfer weight onto that right foot and then step to the side. So there's my 3 steps. Same thing applies if I do it the other way as well. I step across myself, try not to turn my upper body too much, stand on that right foot, untwist my legs to the left. My left hip is starting this action for me. I finish on my right, well, I'm still on the right foot, transfer weight to left, and then I'm to the side. Okay, so again, 3 steps. So you've got 1, pull the hip back, stand on that right foot, 2, and then finish to the side, 3, and the same difference when you're moving the other way. 3 steps, using the lower half of your body to do it rather than the upper body. Now, these actions that you do on your own, really, it's up to you to get it right on your own, really. When you're not touching anyone, you can't be influenced or helped. So it's important that you do it correctly and use the correct part of your body. Otherwise, you're going to try and reach out and grab and hold on to your partner to keep you in balance. When you're with a partner, there are certain amounts of compromise that we have to make to allow turns to happen. But before I do that, just going to go back about the turns or turning when you're doing a particular figure. This is very easy. We do it when we walk and we do it subconsciously without even realizing it. So if we're walking along a street, a road or whatever, and we want to go somewhere, we just go there. We just look and we go there. Even if we're not looking, we can still turn and go in a certain direction. We can do that kind of naturally. So if someone was to say to you, I need you to do a back basic, James, into some lock steps forward that go to your left, well, you would just do that, wouldn't you? You would just go to your left because you have an idea of where you're going to finish and the journey that you're going to take to get there. That shouldn't be too difficult. So again, when you're dancing solo, that sort of turn shouldn't be too difficult. You're going to start here, you're going to finish there, and in the middle of that, you're going to do some lock steps. So make sure you finish there. There you go. I'm done. Easy. So that's pretty much, just as long as you know your direction, those figures should be quite easy. No one else is going to influence you, so it should be easy. Now, when you're dancing it with a person, when you're attached, you have to, what I said before, make some compromises. And so this is just a general thing through turns. When you're moving as a partnership, one of you is on the inside and then one of you is also on the outside. And depending on who's going forwards will determine, or who's going backwards, determines who's on the inside or who's on the outside. The person moving backwards is always on the inside and the person moving forwards is always on the outside of the turn. So we're going around the person or the person is going around us, depending on which way we're turning. This is, of course, most apparent in the ballroom dances because not only do we have turns almost every other step, but we're also very much closer to each other. So we're much more aware of those turns in our bodies. In the Latin dances, you have a bit more space between you. So we have when we're in a closed hold with the arms, we've still got space between us. We don't actually have body contact. Very, very seldom do you have body contact in any of the Latin figures. It does happen, but not very often. So, and when you're slightly further away, it makes things a little harder because the center of your turn is going to be slightly skewed because you're further away from each other, which means you've got to travel a bit further if you're on the outside. However, the good thing is that the turns you have in Latin aren't as significant as they would be in ballroom. So for instance, a bit of cha-cha basic or a bit of rumba basic at the beginning only turns an eighth over the first 3 steps. And then it turns another eighth over the next 3 steps. So the amount of turn is quite gradual. So it's not something that's particularly obvious that you have to compensate for. So it's not as obvious as, say, for instance, a natural turn in waltz, which I'll cover in a second, which has a lot more turn more quickly over the 3 steps. So that eighth of a turn really is just minimal. You don't really notice it so much. But it's good to be aware. It's good to understand that when you're moving forwards, you're going around the outside. And then when you're going backwards, you are on the inside, moving out of the way of your partner, essentially. Essentially, because of the open nature of Latin American, the turn factors when you're dancing with a person are easier and not so intricate as they would be in the ballroom. Basically, you've just got to make sure that, providing you're doing the right figures, I mean, there are some figures where this doesn't apply, but you're just going to make sure that you stay facing your partner when you're in hold, because if you then skew off each other, it's not going to work. So the way in which you hold yourself, whether you're dancing as a leader or as a follower, male or female, you just make sure the arms are relatively firm and not fixed as such, but firm so that you can deal with whatever's in front of you and you can follow them. The turns are very little, as I said, there's very small amounts of turn generally when you're in hold like that. So it's not something that's going to be particularly obvious and something that you've got to work too hard about. It's just remembering that you've got to make allowances for each other a little bit. Where we do have to make significant allowances is in the ballroom. So we'll talk a bit more about that now and go into a bit more detail because it's a fundamental movement that we have to understand to make our ballroom dancing move effortlessly and seamlessly together. So in the ballroom, we've got a couple of different types of turn to think about. We've got body turn. So we've got turn of the body. And that is called CBM, contra body movement. And that means one side of your body is turning towards the foot that's moving, either forward or backwards, okay? So that's all it is. And essentially what that is an indicator. Like in your car, you pop the indicator on to let the person you're dancing with know which way you're going to turn. Normally, the indication comes from the person moving forwards or the leader. I think, to be honest, at a lower level, when you're first beginning to understand this, it's generally a good idea for the person who is the leader to do these things. Honestly, it doesn't matter, this is a separate thing altogether. As a teacher, I don't mind who leads. I'm not worried in the slightest if it's the man or the woman. The thing that makes, or the leader or the follower, the leader or the follower, whoever's in charge, I don't mind. One of you, as long as one of you is in charge, it doesn't matter. If you're both trying to be in charge, that's difficult. Essentially, the man generally has the lady encapsulated within his arms. So that's where the leading comes from in our respect. So why the men typically lead. Normally as well, the men are bigger than the lady and stronger. So it's easier for us to be more dominant and the lady to be more passive. However, that's not always the case. And as I said before, I don't mind who leads as long as one of you does and leads the right thing. But again, that doesn't really matter. As long as one of you leads something and the other person follows it, it doesn't really matter if it was right or wrong, because if you both do the same thing wrong, it's right. That's a slightly, that's a bit fuzzy, that. There obviously is a lot more to it than that. But generally speaking, in a social dance environment, as long as you're going the correct way around the floor, I don't mind what you do, really, as long as you're both doing the same thing. If one of you is doing a jive and the other one's doing a foxtrot, that's tricky. But anyway, so the idea is that one of you is going to lead. So the body turn generally is led from the leader and the person going forwards, because one of the other reasons that's important is because they can see where they're going. Of course, oh, yeah, I'm going to have to go that way, I can see. When you're going backwards, you can't unless you've got those reversing cameras. We need to perhaps invent those for dancers. So ladies to have reversing cameras, perhaps a little screen attached to the elbow. They can have a look at, oh yeah, it's all clear, let's go. That might be interesting, mightn't it? Something to think about. So we've got body turn, and that's CBM. And it's the movement of the body towards the foot that's moving forward or backwards. We've also got foot turn, so just a turn of the foot. So the feet can turn past the body into a given direction. And I'll give you an example of that in a moment. Okay, so that's just when the feet turn, the body doesn't change. We've also got times where we have what we call a pointing alignment. So the feeling is that the feet move on and turn into a different place, but the body doesn't. And this is happening all the time for the person that's moving backwards into a turn. There are some very few exceptions. So for the sake of this video, it's just, you may as well just presume that's always happening when you step backwards. So let's put this into context. And let's look at a natural turn in waltz. 6 steps. Whoever's going forward is going to do the same thing. It doesn't matter. So whether you're leading or following, male or female, the steps are the same. You're just doing them at different times. And the backward steps, again, are the same for both parties. It's just when you do them. Okay, so if we go forward first. So when you step forward, you're going to lead with your right foot into a natural turn. So a natural turn is a right turn, and it leads with the right foot when you're starting it forwards. So you have a right turn, my right foot goes forward, my body turns towards that, so my body's going to turn as that foot goes forward, and then my left leg follows that turn of the body. I swivel a bit on that right foot to produce the turn, and then I close my feet, and that's those 3 steps done. So that is either the 1, 2, 3 for the man, or the 4, 5, 6 for the lady. Now, when you're moving backwards, it's exactly the same for both, as I said. So your left leg will go backwards, your body will turn towards it. So my right side is now turning towards my left foot. That's the CBM. So there's the little indicator that I'm going to turn that way. Now, when you're moving backwards, you've got a little bit extra to consider here. You are on the inside of the turn. So you've got to essentially get out of your partner's way so that the person coming forward can go past you. They are doing more turn, essentially, and you are doing less turn. However, as a couple, the amount of turn you do, the measurement of the turn is still the same. You're still turning 3/8 of a turn, but the feeling is, of course, you're not doing as much because you're on the inside and you're already there, you see, you're already nearly in position. So CBM's in, I get the left foot back, I'm preparing myself because I take this foot now to the inside of the turn. So whenever you're doing a turn, you've got to have a little, this is in ballroom particularly, so you've always got to have a little visual in your head of where the centre of your turn is. Now the centre of your turn is not on your foot because that would produce a spin. And we don't want to do that, of course. We want a turn that moves across the floor because our steps are step side close. So whenever I do a natural turn, I imagine my centre of the turn is over there somewhere. And that's the idea. I'm going to put my centre of my turn over there. And so if you put your arm out, this is a great little exercise actually. If you're going forward, put your arm out. Imagine you've got a pole in the ground, a nice long walking stick or something. Put it in the ground, tent pole. There you go. Set forward and you're going to go around that point as you do your natural turn. That centre doesn't change. That centre doesn't change. You turn around that centre. Okay? Of course, if you're holding on to it, your arm might move it, your arm's going to bend and stuff, but that fixed point doesn't change. So we go around that, and our turn going forwards is quite gradual. We're turning over all 3 of the steps. When you go backwards, that centre's the same. So as a couple, your centre of turn is going to be in the same place. So it's over here, I'm holding on to that same pole. Now what I do though, is that when I go this way, back on that left foot, I take my left foot a little bit towards it. Rather than going dead straight back, I'm mindful of the job that my partner's got to do and how they've got to get around me. So I take my left foot towards that centre of the turn to just prepare myself. And while I'm doing that, I'm still doing the CBM as well, so my body's turning towards that foot behind me. And then I do what's called a pointing alignment. I point my foot where it's going to finish. My body hasn't done anything extra. There's nothing extra there with my body. My foot has turned on, so my foot is now pointing in a different position to my body. And so this is monitoring my partner, because when you go backwards, you do all of your turn between your feet between the first and second steps. It's done there, it's done. So now, but your partner's gradually coming around, you see, so you've got to monitor them. You can't allow your body to turn too early. So you prepare yourself, you get to the centre, you get out of the partner's way, and then your body monitors where they're going, and then you end up finishing together at your final destination. If you were to do all of the turn with your body, immediately you would leave your partner behind and you'd skew off each other. If you were to gradually turn in the same amount as your partner, they wouldn't get round you. They wouldn't get round you because your body would be in the way. So we have to monitor this. We have to stay with them, stay with them, stay with them, and then we finish together at our final place. So that's important to bear in mind. So when you're on the inside of the turn, you get out of your partner's way with your feet, but you leave your body with them so that they can dance around you. Okay? But if you do all of your turn at once, you lose them. And if you don't get out of their way to start with, then it's an almighty job for them to get round you. This is a particular issue with lady dancers that first learn to dance because they are expecting to be led. Now, I did say before about leading someone, and it's important that one of you leads. However, and as I said this about the Latin, you've got to know where you've got to go. You've got to know your direction. And so you don't want to be an obstacle, an immovable object. You don't want to be one of those. So you just need to be mindful that when you're going backwards, you've got to get out of your partner's way and then allow them to dance past you. And then you'll arrive together. Same thing applies with a reverse turn. So when you're turning to the left, the only difference, of course, is you start on the other foot. But the principle is exactly the same. So when you're on the inside, you get out of the way and then monitor your partner's body to stay with them. Now that's whoever it is, man or lady, going forward or backwards. So you've always got to be mindful of these things and monitor your body positions. So that principle is applicable whenever you turn in any of the dances, whether you close your feet or not. Now some figures turn more gradually over a number of steps, but the principle is still the same. Sometimes you might have an element where you start turning a natural weave in foxtrot, for example. So you turn into that. So you have that same principle where you're going around the outside of your partner's feet will point where they're going to finish, and then they allow you to dance around them. And then you've got some steps where you're not turning. So you just hold the body position. You've got an outside partner position there as well to consider, which is another topic for another day. But you're just going to be straight, and then you'll apply the turn principles at the end when you have to turn. Now, I did mention earlier about the turns where you just turn your feet. Now, you've got an element of that with the inside of turn when you point. So I feel like my foot points to where it's going to go, but it hasn't really turned on the spot. Now, there are a few occasions where you have this, and the most obvious one is for the lady in a feather finish. Now, what she does a heel turn in the foxtrot, quick, there's the first 3 steps, and then coming out of that, she goes forward on the left foot, she steps to the right, like that, she's on the outside. Now what happens here is that the body then doesn't do anything else, the body stays where it is, but because you're then going to go off on a diagonal, and the man is going to step outside the lady's feet, if you were to turn everything like this, the body and the foot, and line it up, you'd end up side by side, or you'd pull the man over a little bit. So when you come forward out of that, so you've done your heel turn, come forward, you swing your leg to the right, then your right foot turns on to where it's going to finish, and then you can step backwards beautifully outside. Well, the man can step outside of your feet, and your bodies stay together. So that then helps you to produce a CBMP position, outside partner, you see. So that's the turn of the foot only. And you'll have these sort of things as well when you're moving from promenade to a closed position as well. So for instance, especially this is particularly for the lady, so you've done a whisk, let's say you're in promenade position as you move out, you go forward like this, now your right foot steps to the side, your body turns a little bit, not a great deal, but your foot has to turn on further because you're now going to be outside partner after that. And if your body and your foot was to turn the same amount, then again, it'd be the same principle as the feather finish there. You'd end up side by side, or you'd pull your man over. So when you're going from a closed position to an outside partner position, and you're moving backwards, you need to ensure that you turn your foot. And when you're going from a promenade position to a closed position, which will then be followed by an outside partner position. It sounds very complicated. Again, you're going to turn your foot. So these things you need to identify in your routines, and with the help of your teachers or your partners, then your partner perhaps, some of you might have more than one partner, you then will need to identify where these particular actions are to make it easier. And if things aren't going quite well, or aren't going to plan, that could well be what's happening. It could be that your body and your foot are turning the same amount, in which case you're turning and pulling your partner off their balance, or you're not doing it at all, and doing nothing at all, and then it doesn't help either, does it? So that's something to be mindful of. Now finally, I want to just mention one last turn that I haven't discussed yet, and that's the spin turn in waltz. You have pivots or spins in other dances as well. However, it's most synonymous with the waltz and of course the quick step, because you have the same spin turn figure in both of those dances. Now this is slightly different in that when I talked earlier about the natural turn in waltz, I feel that my centre of my turn is over to my right or to my left, whichever way I'm turning, left or right. I feel my centre is away from me and I'm turning around a fixed point somewhere off to the side. Now when you do a pivot, the centre is the pivoting foot, and you can only pivot backwards. So when I go backwards here, I'm on the inside. Now my pivot centre is going to be my left foot. This is a natural spin turn, so I've done the first 3 steps of a spin turn. I'm now going to do the pivoting bit. So I place my left foot to the inside of the turn. I've moved it that way slightly to make it slightly easier. This is now the centre. We're turning around that point. So my partner's coming round with me. So this is slightly different in that I don't move my other foot. I don't take that away, because if I did that, I'd lose my partner, because I'm spinning around my left foot. So the foot goes to the inside there. I feel like it's underneath my left elbow and slightly behind me as well. I pivot around that, it's fixed. The right leg is fixed as well. I hold that in position as I pivot. Everything goes together, but I still feel my body slightly underturned. It's not gone past my right foot at this point. This position of the leg like this helps me to maintain contact with my partner, so I know where she is. And the lady will also have a little bit of a connection through the leg to keep them there. Especially when you're first learning this, it's important to get a connection through the thighs here, just above the knee, so that you can monitor each other. If that leg moves away, then the centre of that turn's gone, because as I go backwards here, I'm turning around this point, I've also got a connection point through my right leg with my lady's right leg too. So that helps us to stay together. You can only have a pivot, as I say, when you move backwards. So it's a fixed point. I'm turning around my left foot here and my right foot's held in position. When you come forwards, you'll go forward, you get that connection to the thigh here slightly with your partner. You turn around this foot and leave your other leg behind you. So that's called a pivoting action. It's not a pure pivot, because as I said, you can only do a pivot moving backwards. So the lady has her CBM as she comes forward, her body will turn towards this moving leg. They'll connect through here, but as they turn, that other leg is held in position. That leg stays behind them. It's very important that you do that. So you do feel like you spin. You go on a heel lead here. You feel like you turn around the right foot. The left foot draws a lovely little semicircle behind you on the tip of that toe. When you get here, this is when it gets a little bit trickier. You push from your right leg. The left leg goes behind you, and then you do have an element of a spin of your own around the left ball of foot. So that's what happens for you. You have a little bit of a spinny action there. A spinny action, that's a technical term, spinny action. Write that down. So there's your little spin at the end as such, and you go right up on your toes and you turn around your left foot, and your right leg comes in, you brush beautifully, and then you'll collect your weight out of that, generally turning 3/8 of a turn as you come out of that. Now, as the gentleman, you've done your beautiful pivot, you've pivoted here. When you go forward on the right foot now to the last bit, your body turns very strongly to the right, because you've got an awful lot of turn to make here. And you go up on your toes and then you collect your weight. So you have a continuation of turn there. It's a heel lead to start with, and then you go right up on your toe and turn around that right foot. The spin turn is a tricky step to master. It's difficult to learn in the first place as well, to get around each other, because you've got quite a lot of turn to do. But to master it's even harder, and it does take quite some time. So don't be put off by this. If you struggle with the spin turn, don't worry. It does take a long time to master it, purely because you've got an awful lot of turn to do, and you've both got important jobs here as you're doing this turn. The inside of the turn, when you're going backwards, you've got to make sure that you keep that leg in place, because obviously up to this point with the basic actions you've moved that leg, you see. So now you've got to do something different, and then you've got to turn your body past your right foot. You're actually in what we call CBMP here. As you go forward, turn the body past it, and that locking of the body against that right leg will help you to spin around that right foot as you're going up. Because at that point, the lady's out here doing a lovely bit of extension as well, you see. So it's a tricky step, but it's quite unique. It's quite out there on its own. So in the waltz and the quick step, you've got those in the corners, but don't be put off by giving them a go, but you do need lots of practice on them. If I can leave you with anything really important to take away for the spin turn, is as you go backwards, gentlemen, you leave your right leg out there for the lady to connect with, and don't take it away from the lady. If you try and do something like that and leave her behind, it's not going to work. And also, I feel like everything's moving here to the right, so everything moves to the right, and that brings my lady with me. So then I can then turn, and then once I've placed her here, I can then allow that to continue and spin past her. So it's a nice compromise here. We've got, over these steps, there's an awful lot of turn, as I say. So if we do it from the beginning of that, so the first bit, the man's turning to the right, lady's on the inside, so she gets out of the way. Now the man spins and gets out of the lady's way, and then it happens again. The lady gets out of the man's way, and we spin past her. There's an awful lot to do there. So ladies, when you're moving backwards, you must make sure you get out of the man's way here on the first 3 steps. Then you've got to go past him. So you've got a bit of oomph here. You've got to give it some welly to go past him, and then keep that turn going as you get to your spinny bit, technical term, remember, write it down, at the end of the spin turn. As I say, don't be put off by it. It is tricky. It'll take you a little while to get. So in ballroom, it's important to remember the principle of turn. You've got an inside and outside always. There's always an inside and outside of turn in the ballroom when you're in contact. It's very important to remember these 2 things, because otherwise it doesn't work. You won't be able to stay together. And the beauty of the ballroom dancing is that you are moving as 2 bodies moving as one in complete harmony. Now, if one of you turns too much or not enough, then of course you'll break that beautiful visual. So it's important to identify these aspects of turn in your routines. And as I said earlier, it's happening almost every other step, especially in the waltz. You're turning, pretty much every figure has an element of turn to it, so it's constantly happening all the time. So there we go, a bit about turn. We've got it all the time. It's easier on your own, that's obviously very apparent, but to harmonise turn in the ballroom especially does take a bit of practice. So make sure you practice it. Remember all of your inside and outside of turns, and I'll catch up with you next time. Thanks for watching, see you soon.
And there we go. You're right there, buddy. Shouting away.
He just barked.
He did. Very loudly, didn't he? Anyway, there we go. So that was our little turn video. Hopefully that was beneficial and useful and interesting. What did you think? Did you watch it?
I didn't really get much chance, did I? Because I was outside.
It was amazing.
Was it?
Oh, it was my best work. My best work.
Yeah.
My best work. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I've noticed actually as I look through some of the other episodes, and I seem to be gradually descending into some sort of vagrant in terms of looks with my hair and my face. It just looks like I'm just getting more and more like I'm unkept.
We're both looking that way, darling.
Yeah.
Don't worry. We're not the only ones. I'm sure there's lots of people feeling a bit like that.
Cheers, everyone. We were very fortunate for someone very kindly sent us some drinks to get us through these late, I suppose these early spring nights. And so basically it's you've heard of wine in a box. Well, these are cocktails in a box. Or cocktails in a packet.
Little
Not bad.
packet.
Not
Tear
bad.
open. All done for you.
Always gratefully received.
Thank you very
Margaret,
much.
stop with your filth. Margaret says, great lecture, James, a real turn on. be honest, I would have.
Hey, you.
Hey.
No.
Shh, that's
That's
enough.
enough.
Maybe he wants you to hold him.
Do you want to come?
Yeah, so I would have thought that Margaret, all my lectures were a bit of a turn on, but there we go. Never mind.
You sulking.
So I hope that was useful. If anyone's got any more questions, of course we're here, ready for it. So those of you that have said you liked it, thank you very much, very kind of you. Alan Pearson particularly liked the spinny bit.
The spinny bit.
Yeah, we all like the spinny bit, don't we?
I like a spinny bit.
Oh, I love a bit of spinny bit. Yes.
There you go. Whenever you choreograph something, you always got to make sure you have a spinny bit.
Yes. Now, Ray sent me the link to his question earlier, which was he was reading at the Jive for some dance techniques taken from the salsa swing and tango. So, however, it's from Wikipedia. Now, Wikipedia can be edited by anyone. That's the trouble. So I'm going to have a little look through that. What is wrong with that nutcase? Buddy, that's enough.
He's just got a little bit of
That's
energy.
enough.
He's a. You know how you have that feeling where you want to stuff your head in a pillow and scream?
Always. I have it every day.
Bunny wants to
every
stuff his
day's
head in a
been-
pillow and bark.
Generally when I've just woken up.
These days, yeah.
Yeah. I've just read that link, Ray, and literally it's word for word what you wrote. It doesn't develop it or talk about it anymore. I really don't know. I'd have to look into that. I don't know. Leave that with me and I'll see what I can come up with. But personally, I don't quite know the context. I mean, of course, all dances have similarities, especially across the techniques. But we should be all right. We are drinking, Greg. We are drinking a cocktail in a packet.
You've got they're both gin based. Mine's a gimlet and yours is a gin proved or proved.
Proved.
Gin
I don't know.
proved.
No idea. It's nice though. Very, very tasty.
Yeah.
A little sweet, but very nice.
Do you want to try mine and I try yours?
Go on then. Swapsies. Don't you dare drink very much though, because I've got a lot left. You haven't got a lot left.
Really nice, both of them.
Yeah, good.
Could happily drink either of those.
At the same time, yeah.
Yeah.
What is CDM rather than CBM, Alan Pearson? Forgive my
CDM.
ignorance, perhaps. And Sigrid, Sigrid says it was interesting, more detailed than in the lessons. Thank you. Do you mean your lessons? Because sometimes, of course, you have to work. You've got to work with what's in front of you, and that's a bit harsh. I'm only messing about, Sigrid. You've got more time. Obviously, that lecture's specifically about turn, but we're not going to spend a whole hour on turn, are we? So there's not as much time to go into as much detail because we've still got to get around for another thing. So, but of course, any lesson that anyone has, I'm very happy to talk about one aspect for the whole period. I can easily fill an hour's lesson on one topic, easily.
Ow.
Easy, especially if I've got a body there to work with. So you're always going to get more
You
out
can spend a
of
whole hour
a
just talking about walking. In the
yeah,
morning,
no,
can't
you're
you?
always going to get more out of a lecture on a particular topic because you've got more time to talk about it. Sorry. In a private lesson, of course, you're going to work with what's exactly in front of you. Sometimes you don't need to spend an hour on one thing unless you specifically want to. We've spent thousands of pounds on about 3 steps, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
A feather step. You know, I've spent
Feather step, half
tens
natural.
of thousands of pounds on that sort of thing. Yeah. Cadbury's Dairy Milk is CDM. Yeah, that's the devil's work. That's got milk in it. It's the devil's work. It's got a glass and a half in it, in fact. It's the devil's work. Yeah.
Ow! Stop biting me.
It is good, Greg. It is good.
What's good?
Margaret, of course I got it. Margaret says I meant it literally. You were talking about turns, didn't you get it? Of course I got it. A real turn on. You clearly said it though. You wrote it in a way to get me to react though, didn't you? It was reactionary, of course.
Your sense of humour is rubbing off on Margaret. Will we be able to have a drink and dance?
Joe says, very interesting,
Yep.
but can you clarify, as Jess and Matteo often say the shoulders initiate the turn? Well, in the Latin, you've got an element of CBM as well. However, it isn't the upper body that makes you turn. There's an element of initiation, of course, and it's the same in the ballroom. The body is going to turn towards a leg that's moving, but you mustn't use the upper body, to turn yourself. When you develop
Ballroom Latin's a little bit different.
But when you develop your dancing, things change again. So things do change again, and you will use your shoulders and your arms and your chest to make yourself turn quicker and faster. But the lecture was targeted more at people who were trying to establish standing up on their own 2 feet and not falling over. And to start with, you want to try and not use your upper body as much as you can to start with. Use your legs and feet first, and then eventually the upper body will help you to develop it further. It's not wrong, of course. You do need to use your body, and again, it's impossible not to, because it's connected to your legs.
But with turn, basically, if you divide yourself up into blocks, let's say you've got lower legs, upper legs, body, chest and head, when you turn, you don't want all these blocks turning all at once. That's the important thing. So depending on the type of turn you're doing, so in ballroom, sometimes it's our face that turns first, that initiates turn, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, but what you don't want is everything turning at once, because then it's not going to work.
Yeah, you mustn't group everything together.
So whatever you're doing, these different blocks that you've got are all going to turn at different times. So something will initiate the turn first, depending on what you're doing, and then the rest of the body will follow, but certainly not all at once, because if you do that, it looks naff. And you fall off balance.
Yes, naff, good choice of words.
Yeah. Oh, he's annoying me.
He is annoying, yeah. Full of the joys of spring. Absolutely, you can drink and dance, Ros, as long as you don't spill it on the dance floor. I don't want any spillages on the dance floor. And Lou, yeah, good to have a practice, but yeah, be careful with those rubber soled slip-ons. It's not, they're not conducive with elegant movement necessarily.
Get down. Right, you're going outside.
He's going to take him out.
You're going outside.
Yeah.
Come on. Oh, get off me.
Oh, you bought Ottolenghi, did you, Alan? Yeah, great book. But where did you get the weird ingredients? Waitrose.
Waitrose. Best place.
Waitrose, best place. Yeah.
Waitrose sells most of it, I think.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it seems to. In their special section. They've got a little special section. And I've already answered Sarah Ball's question without even knowing that she'd asked me a question.
Ah.
Which is good.
Good.
Generally speaking, the order of turn, I'd like to generally always think that the brain's the first thing that kicks in, of course, but it does depend on what you're doing. Sometimes in Latin it will be my foot that goes first, or my eyes, my face, as Kelly just was talking about. In the ballroom, quite often it's the body. It's going to depend.
Depends if you're turning
depends
left
on
or
what
right
you're doing.
in ballroom as well. Because if I'm turning left, then you don't want your body to initiate that turn.
Well, as a lady, you don't know.
Well, as either. You don't want the man to go like that.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So it would definitely be the face or the eyes that initiate that.
Well, see, this is the other thing. I didn't really talk about this much because it's so... I mean, it opens up a can of worms constantly. You keep going down little rabbit holes. But when you do any turn in ballroom, you're always turned to the right. Always. So whether you're turning left or right, your body's turned to the right.
Yeah, your body's always turned to the right.
It's never not turned to the right. So it makes things pretty tricky.
Yeah.
Because you have to have this element of discipline in your body to keep it in position, even though you're turning in a different direction. And then, once you master things again, your arms will move independently to your body.
Yeah, so
and
in
your
ballroom,
head's different.
left turns and right turns are quite different, aren't they? In terms of where your head goes, where your body goes, how you use it. Yeah, very different.
So if I'm doing a strong, powerful right turn, like a Viennese waltz turn, for instance, my arms will feel like they move past me completely past me, which in turn puts my partner past me completely, and then I have like a big open space to move into. My body then turns much later.
Such a cry.
Yeah. He is being very naughty tonight.
This happens on a Friday night.
He gets excited, obviously. He knows people are watching and he likes to play up and that sort of thing, I guess. So, any more questions? I like questions. Hopefully that helps you, Joe, as well, because I do understand that different teachers prioritise different things, and of course it depends on where you are at in your stage of development, whether or not certain information is relevant and good for you. Unfortunately, this is the good thing about dancing, because you'll learn something for a period of time, and then you'll get to a point where your teacher might say, well, forget all that, we're going to do this now. Because it's all about building blocks. you establish certain structures into your body or into your dancing, certain disciplines, and then you haven't got to think about those things anymore. Then you can work on different things. So it is complicated, unfortunately. It's complicated. But I don't want to be contradictory. But of course, it's not wrong to turn your body, of course. Kelly should have put her phone on silent, shouldn't she? Any more questions? Question or nominate? I nominate. Who do I nominate to ask a question? I don't know. Why does spotting make me feel dizzier?
He was doing that because Doris went down.
Oh, okay.
And then I
So-
love close the kitchen door, so I'll put him in the kitchen now.
So Diane, I'm sure it's Diane, says, why does spotting make me feel dizzier?
I don't know.
It's the best answer from a teacher you've ever had. Don't know. Just stop
Because
it.
spotting is a technique in order to make you feel less dizzy. So
What will also happen when you spot, so if you fix your eyes on a particular point and then turn, your head turns. Your head is the last thing that turns. Of course, it's moving faster. So
maybe it's that.
it could well be that.
Yeah, it could be the
So
speed.
you need to just get used to it. Unfortunately, your body gets used to it.
There's an element of feeling dizzy in dance, isn't there? I mean, I know when you're doing ballroom and your eye line is constantly, like, especially as the lady dancer, not so much as the man, but your eye line is constantly kind of changing. So it's either like you're looking at the world sideways, you're looking up towards the, what do they call that bit? I always ask that. Cornice of the room. Cornice, yeah. And if you're spinning around and around, I mean, you can't focus your eyes all the time. So there is an element of dizziness, and practice means you do get slightly used to that. I mean, you do obviously focus your eyes, and that lessens it much more. You don't just let your eyes glaze over. But yeah, there is a little bit of that is you just have to learn to tolerate. Yeah. So difficult for people, I suppose, who are, get seasick very easily and things like that, I guess.
Yeah.
Travel sickness and things like that, but
You have to get used to it as well. It's the thing you have to get used to. And the more you do it, the less dizzy you will get. Your body will get. Unless, of course, you have some sort of inner ear issue. Then, of course, it won't get any better.
yeah, I mean, I've
all.
had ear infections where you feel pretty poorly and dizzy and stuff with them. That's completely different.
But focus is the most important thing, actually, to stop you getting dizzy. So people talk about looking at the horizon, don't they, when you're on a ship and it's moving. So the horizon's fixed. You fix your eyes on that. Everything moves around it, and you don't feel quite so dizzy. That's when your eyes are moving around that you can feel disorientated.
So when I'm dancing, it's not that I can remember.
Such a long time since you danced, isn't it?
Constantly looking at something, so as soon as you look there, then you're looking at the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, so you're constantly trying to focus your eyes. Not that you're consciously trying to do it. I think it's something that obviously you learn intuitively eventually, but if when you learn as a kid, I suppose you probably subconsciously pick that up as opposed to learning when you're grown. Then it takes a little bit of thought behind it to combat that.
See, Julie Sadler says if you have vertigo, it's very difficult, but you learn what works for you. Absolutely.
Yeah,
so you have to accommodate it. You learn to accommodate the movements in. No, that's not the right choice of words. Is it accommodate? You basically what she said.
I mean,
what she said. You learn to accommodate it.
If it's something that's quite bad for you, like vertigo, then there might be some things that you just can't do. You know.
Oh, for goodness sake!
Oh, what a bombshell! Yeah, so there might be certain moves you can't do if you've got something. If you're suffering really badly in terms of dizziness.
Yeah. Spot turning on a cruise ship is fun. It is. We've never done Latin shows on a cruise ship because when we were together we only did ballroom. We had times in the Bay of Biscay when we were doing a show on the Arcadia, and we literally fell into the audience as we're dancing, and they pushed us back out. It was marvellous. Yeah. So it was great. They were quite soft, actually, wasn't it? It was like the bumper cars.
Like landing on a cloud and
bouncing
back.
And then they'd push you back onto the dance floor.
Or a
It was quite
big
useful.
marshmallow.
During the rehearsal that day, everyone was confined to cabins, and literally the ship floor was
I remember
doing
the
this.
night before.
Crazy.
Do you remember the cupboards kept opening and closing because it was moving so much? So we thought, we're not going to be doing this show, but we did it.
Yeah. It definitely tells you whether or not your core is strong enough, and it helps you to work on your core stability. because you have to try and stay balanced even when the floor's moving, which is a skill.
It's tricky though when the floor suddenly dips down a little bit further.
Yeah, you go into, you think you're going to do a right lunge and just stop, and then you put your foot down and there's no floor there, and the floor
And you
keeps
keep going.
That's quite strange. I had another experience as well on a cruise ship where we danced on a stage. I think it was the Ventura, and they had the house lights
Oh,
up,
and they
didn't
blinded
they?
us.
Couldn't
didn't
see the
they?
floor because you couldn't see anything.
So where they have the edge of the stage, normally there's little lights there so you can see it, but they had the house lights on.
But didn't have the lights on. They didn't have the lights on the floor.
Right, we couldn't see the audience.
It was so terrifying. We thought we were going to fall into the orchestra pit.
So we didn't know where the edge of the stage was, which
Yeah, it's horrible.
I suppose if you're just doing other types of dance, it's not so bad. But when you're doing ballroom,
Well, yeah, when you try and do a quick step on a
and it's raked
on a
anyway,
25
so
by 10 foot.
it's a raked stage anyway, isn't it? So
yeah,
it's already challenging.
Difficult. Hell of a challenge. Julian House says, "What is a bombshell?"
Typically, a
I
woman
was trying to
with-
think of something funny, but I
typically
can't.
a woman with blonde hair that presents the news. Apparently, if you watch American news channels.
A bombshell is a dance move where you would do some sort of. So particularly, it comes.
The ronde. Isn't it?
Yeah, you do. The bit before generally gives you context. So if you do a double reverse spin, so it's turning left. At the end of the double reverse spin, you would briefly pause, collect your weight, both drop into your right leg. Both of you do the same leg. Drop into your right leg.
Do a ronde.
And the left leg continues to ronde out. So it's a big turn away from each other, legs ronde round, then you collect weight and pick up, and then you go into something else like a culture check.
You do almost like a twist turn type action.
Yeah,
Sort
yeah,
of
something like that. So the man crosses behind, lady will potentially cross behind as well.
Yeah.
There's a
she
little
does.
fiddle. You have to have a
She
little
crosses
fiddle.
behind and then she continues to cross in front like a standing
Yeah.
spin.
So that's a bombshell
And then you typically
in a dance
you don't
context.
typically finish it with a contra trick, do you?
Often, yeah, it's a typical ending. Yeah, yeah.
I don't know what else you would finish it with.
Well, there's all sorts of things you can finish with. I'll show you later.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll give you a lesson. Yeah.
We never did one together, did we?
Not together, no. I used to have them quite a few
I
times
had
in my
them
routines.
and lots of my
Yeah,
routines. Yeah.
it can be quite beautiful actually done correctly. That's probably why we didn't have one. Because we just didn't make it work. Natalie Lowe fell off the stage in the middle of a show once on a ship. Was that into your arms, Margaret?
That would have been quite something to see.
Yeah. And someone called Secure B on YouTube says, "Hey, do you like France?" Well, yeah, we do. We've been to France quite a few times.
We like France.
Yeah. We went to France last year for our little holiday, so we had to cut short and come home.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do like France. Wouldn't mind having we toyed with the idea in all of this to sell everything up in this country, take the £5 that we'll have left afterwards, and try and buy an old ramshackle, run-down chateau in somewhere in France, and
with a
turn
ballroom in it.
Well, we'd make it a ballroom.
Yeah.
We'd give it a ballroom so that we could run dance holidays in France and just live in France and run dance holidays and do this sort of thing on a regular basis and do dance lessons
With a great
online.
big place. With a great big chandelier.
Yeah, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? That would be nice. Yeah. So I don't know who you are, Secure B, but thanks for tuning in.
I like champagne too, so that would work for me.
It does work. Oh, a man caught her apparently.
Wow.
Well, that was staged then, wasn't it?
Well, I wouldn't have
No, I
thought so.
wouldn't have thought so. No. Was it in the theatre? She fell off stage, the proper big theatre, because that's quite a drop actually.
They're quite high, aren't they?
Yeah, it's quite. Well, the questions seem to have eased up. Italy's better. Well, yes,
We like Italy as
we
well.
do like
don't
Italy
worry.
too, but we're led to believe that purchasing stuff in Italy is difficult because basically because of the Italians and their laws and things. So I know you would know more about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we like the idea of getting a rundown place.
I could, in
France.
terms of the food and the drink in either of those countries, I could live in either.
I nearly read that out.
Yeah, don't.
No,
No.
I didn't. I'm glad I didn't read that out.
I know why they said that though. Blend with beauties.
Yes, and
Because
large gates.
I talked about the big chandelier.
Yeah, large gates.
I knew I
our
couldn't say
chateau
what I
in
would
France.
normally say.
Yeah. Go on, Kel. Give him a word. Give him something. Go on, tell him something.
I don't know what to tell them. Run out of things to say now.
Yeah. Well, what are we going to talk about tomorrow? What's next
Oh,
week's
yeah.
video going to be about?
You need your topic.
Yeah, well, I've got an idea in my head already, but just be keen to see what anyone
So
else
we've
has
done
got.
sway, we've done footwork, we've done
Shall I tell you everything we've done?
Yes.
So
please.
we've done posture.
Posture.
We've done footwork.
Footwork.
We've done sway.
Sway.
We've done leg action.
Leg action.
In ballroom. We've done leg action
Leg
in
action.
Latin. How many is that? Is that 5?
Yes.
It's only 5.
Yes.
We've done turn
And
now
then
as
you've
well.
done turn. That's 6.
I've done 7 in total.
Maybe I didn't do my finger.
Hang on. I'm
Say
sure
it
I
again. Say it
So
again,
we've got
Sam.
footwork,
Footwork.
leg action,
Ballroom.
leg action Latin,
Leg action.
posture and poise,
Rise and
fall, sway and turn.
There we go.
Yeah, it's quite the series.
Yeah.
Have you s-
Armography.
Armography.
Yeah, you've had a few requests for arms.
I
haven't
have.
you?
I don't know if I can fit 30 armography for ladies.
I can't do that at the moment.
No. That's Kelly's job, armography.
It's not really.
Yes, it is. It's not
A
all
man
about
can-
me all the time.
Yeah, but the man has to use his
It
arms.
shouldn't be all about me all the time. Do armography. Yeah. It's I know you. Some other people are talking about arms. But it's really simple. If in doubt, stick it out. It really is that simple because otherwise it's got to be very step specific.
Yeah, it's a little bit more of an ambiguous topic, isn't it? Because there's very few, I suppose, rules.
Yeah.
There's more like guidance with arms because there's certain things you can do to make sure that they never look ugly, for sure. So it's something that I always say to people. It's like James said, if you're in doubt, well, you stick it out. Okay, that's fine for Latin. But if you have your arm out like this, and suddenly if you turn your hand so that the palm is facing behind you, look what that does to your shoulder line. So that now looks slightly ugly and slightly
It's difficult for
stressed.
them to see that in my cardigan.
I know. So I'll do it again. That was a
Hang
little
on,
bit
just
more
1 second.
So
Ella,
my palm is now facing. Okay.
say good evening. Ella's here.
Hello.
Oh, you should tell them all about your YouTube channel. They should tune in, shouldn't they? To get you more subscribers and views. Do you want to
No,
tell
they
them?
can hear you.
They can't. They can't. Tell them. Tell them quickly.
So I have a YouTube channel.
I have a YouTube channel.
You should watch it.
You should watch it.
What's it called, Ella?
EBTV.
EBTV. And what
Yeah.
do you
But do Ella B instead, so then you get the.
Ella B
On the
TV.
search engine, you mean? It doesn't really come up on search engines because you've only got about 17 subscribers.
Yeah. So what do you do on your channel?
Play games.
Play games. She plays the little video games that she likes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And talks about them. Don't pull that face. That's terrible.
But the idea is I thought that we'd set her up with a YouTube channel because there are children who started quite young, perhaps as young as Ella, and now are earning millions. So
Millions of subscribers.
no, they're earning millions of pounds. Millions of pounds. They've got toy lines and all sorts. So if we get you started early, we could really coin it, cash in.
Sounds like you were going to exploit.
Well, nothing wrong with that.
Stop,
Nothing wrong with that.
Stop. I was asking for.
Bus stops,
you can-
banana
You
fingers.
can let Buddy out now, can't you?
Okay.
And I don't know about that. I don't know what there is, but I can't get to you at the moment, so you have to wait.
So,
Go and let Buddy out.
Julie Santa, your question is a different thing altogether. That's not armography, that is posture. Actually.
Shall I talk about what I was going to say?
Yeah, you carry on, Kel. You carry on. I'm
I
just
need to
going
be
to
able to
sit
see
here.
though, so I can
Okay.
see what I'm doing. What do you mean you're just going to sit here?
Hang on a second. Oh, no, I think Ros was answering what we hadn't covered. I was
Yes.
thinking that Ros wanted us to cover Rise and Fall. I was going to say, Ros, we've already done that.
No, she was telling you that was the
Yeah,
one
yeah,
we've
yeah.
missed.
Okay.
So yeah, if your arm's like this, palm down, if you stick your palm behind you, face your palm behind you, it alters your shoulder line. So you want to be quite conscious of your shoulder line. That's really important all the time for Ballroom or Latin. If you do that, it distorts your shoulder line. Yeah. So keeping the palm down or up, because often the gents will do something like that, so quite gesture based. It doesn't distort the shoulder line, but if your palm goes behind you, it starts to twist your shoulder upward. Okay, unless you're very, very controlled in holding it down, which is harder if your palm's behind you. So that's one little tip, I suppose, that I tell everyone when they ask me about arms. It's just like, just for goodness sake, don't do that. Because quite often people do in New York and they do that, don't they? Stick it behind them, but this is all distorted now.
Yeah, and in New York, the hat...
Doesn't mean the arm can't go up, but the higher
Don't
it
go
goes,
up.
the harder it is.
But you should never turn
Hi,
it
buds.
backwards.
Mm.
Turn it backwards. Yeah, Julie, if you're struggling to keep your arms up, that's all about the back muscles. So that's a different thing altogether. We are going to, at some point, we are going to do something on ballroom holds, and that will help you for that.
As a couple, you
As a
mean?
couple, yeah. I'm just waiting for Kelly to give me the green light when I can film her.
About 6 weeks, I reckon.
So we'll be back in the studio then.
Yeah.
Pointless.
No, it's not.
Have you done any exercise this week?
No. It's very difficult.
It's not. It's not.
I don't mean that it's difficult in actually doing it.
No, I know. It's difficult to get motivated. I know it's very difficult.
Mentally, I'm just struggling. There you go.
Where does your arm start from and where does it finish? No, I understand, Alan, what you're saying, actually. Yes. But where does your arm start and where does it finish? Yeah.
Well, for me...
But again, it depends on the step that you're doing, because sometimes it's going to be different, because you don't want it always to look the same. Yeah. Because sometimes it'll start here and go up. Sometimes it'll start here and go down. Sometimes it'll start here and go here. Sometimes it'll start here and go here, or up here, or down there. So there's lots and lots of permutations, you see. I'm going to cook him in a curry. I'm going to cook him in a curry. Close that door.
Ella.
Ella, you got to stop playing with him while we're on camera. While we're on time.
Shut the door down. See what he does for a second.
Come here, buddy. Come here.
No, just leave him for a second. He might settle down.
He won't. He's going to shout at the door. He's going to shout at the door. He is going to shout at the door.
He's worse tonight than he was last week.
Can you honestly take him out?
I'm trying
It's far
to.
too loud.
He's biting. Right. He's having a tantrum, isn't he? That's what
He
it
is.
He's having a
I
tantrum.
don't like you very much, buddy. Does anyone want to buy a dog? 5 figures. Sorry about that. Sorry about all the noise. Hopefully it didn't blow your ears out too much. I'll think about the armography thing. It's a little bit more, as I say, a bit ambiguous. I'll have a think. But it would be Latin only. It wouldn't be ballroom, because ballroom armography is basically the ballroom hold, which is a different thing altogether. I'll have a little think. Yes. Ah, good, Julie. That's good. That's good. So yoga poses obviously are going to will help and strengthen you. And the thing to remember, that everything we do in any dance comes from our back. It comes from our back. So your posture comes from your back. The presentation of your arms comes from your back. So if your back is weak, you're always going to struggle. Now, what typically happens is everyday life is focused in front of us. So everything's generally right here in front of us. So hang on. Sorry about that. I had a bit of a problem with the camera all of a sudden. Yeah, so generally everything we do is focused right in front of us. Everything is here. So we kind of get drawn to this point. And so that creates a contraction of the muscles at the front of the body, and then elongates our back. So it's very much harder for us to stand up straight. So the back muscles are so important. You'll see it a lot in the gym. So if you go to the gym, you'll see lots of people that focus only on their chest muscles or their stomach muscles. And from the front, they look good. They're called t-shirt muscles, like this, they're like little hulks. But from the back, they've got nothing. Their backs they're shiny, curved and shiny, because they don't work on the back at all. Because you don't see your back. So when you're working out in a gym, you only see yourself from the front. You don't work on the back too much. So you've got to ensure that the back muscles are strong, because if you imagine that what we do in a dance sense, everything is like a suspension bridge. So you've got the strong arm of the suspension bridge, you've got the big poles coming up, and then you've got all those ropes hanging off of it. So without these strong pillars along the bridge, it's gone. What's underneath it's got no strength, it's got no stability. So this has to be strong, because everything stems off of your body. So if it's leaning forward or collapsed or shaped too far forwards, then of course it's going to impact dramatically on what you do. So yeah, the back muscles are vital. So pulling the shoulder blades down and back, feeling that you pick up the sternum, pulling everything backwards. It's a good idea, but it's tough because the normal life draws us in to what's right in front of us, so it rounds us off. So dancing is a wonderful cure for this, wonderful aid for life. Really, it should be prescribed. I should be on prescription. I think I should be on prescription. If only, eh? If only. You love that dog, do you, Alan? Thanks very much. Jonathan, we are plant-based eaters. However, it doesn't mean to say I can't cook him and eat him. Cook him and sell him to eat. So, yeah. Anyway, I think we've had enough now. I'm hungry. I'm going to go have my dinner. I think Margaret Latter asked me what we're having. Did I actually answer? I can't remember. We're having pasta tonight. It's a cheesy pasta. Yeah, with some cheese in it and stuff. Not real cheese, vegan cheese. That's it. We're done, Kill, I think.
That's what we had last week.
Yeah. Did we have it last Friday as well?
We did. Yeah, we took all the week before, one or the other.
Oh, and Jew says he wants head movement.
Head movement.
I don't know what you mean, though, Julian. You need to be a little bit more
probably means what you
descriptive.
Do in a natural turn and a reverse turn and that sort of thing.
Julian, you need to keep your head to the left. Keep your head left over your left foot at all times. Because even if you turn, even when your head is supposed to be to the right, or can be to the right, it still looks okay when it's to the left. However, your head should never be to the right when it should be to the left. So if you just keep it to the left over your left foot, you'll always be in a better position.
But you don't mean like this, because to the left could just be here.
That's fine. I don't mind that if it's over his left foot.
Here.
But that's not left then, is it?
But it's over my left foot.
Well, that's fine then.
Yeah.
Always put your head over your left foot. Put your left head over your left foot.
It's all about where your weight is.
Yeah, exactly. So the head is very heavy. If you keep your head on the left foot, it makes things so much easier at all times. Think of it this way. So if you are a male dancer or a female dancer, where your partner's head weight is has a massive impact on you. So if you are a man that's bigger than your lady, or weightier, especially if you're weightier and taller, if your head weight gets into your lady's space, so if you lean into your lady, you're going to immediately push her out of position. In a ballroom sense, we're talking about ballroom, your right hand's on her back, so you're pushing her away but then stopping her from going, so you're creating a squeeze element here. So that energy is going to go somewhere, and more often than not it comes out of your shoulder like this. You look deformed, like Quasimodo, but generally it's your own problem, it's your own fault. If you keep your head on your left foot at all times, you can never ever go wrong. And even when you look to the right, your head is still to the left. The same with the turns. If you're turning left, your body's still to the right. Dancing's full of these contradictions. It's wonderful. So when you develop your dancing, it's full of it.
That's why it's hard to understand at first, and then you feel it, and then you're like,
Yeah, well, the thing is, you see, in ballroom, of course, you're one half of a jigsaw puzzle, so you are not supposed to be symmetrical in yourself. You're not symmetrical in yourself. You're symmetrical or complete as a partnership. You become complete when you get together. So on your own, you will look odd. And then as a lady on her own, she'll look odd. But when you put the two together, it looks complete and it's correct. So there's some things you have to do to make it look normal. When you feel normal, you're generally looking quite contrived and odd. When you feel contrived and odd, you generally look quite normal. So that's... I spend my life feeling quite odd.
Which doesn't feel odd anymore.
That's why I look normal. That's why I look normal.
You don't
But I'm actually... No, I'm not normal at all. I'm abnormal.
I don't know what we look like, actually. Ragamuffins.
Ragamuffins. Anyway, we're going to go for some dinner. Thank you very much for tuning in, everyone. Hopefully that was beneficial this evening, and you got a little bit from it.
Did you decide what we're going to do tomorrow?
No.
Talk about what you.
No, well, I know in my head what I was going to talk about, but
Okay.
people have kind of hit me sideways with this
Arms
thing about armography, and I'll see if I can make it last 30 minutes. I can waffle for 30 minutes easily.
It's got to be worth it, though, darling.
I know it's got to be worth it. I know it's got to be worth it. Yeah.
I'm sure you can. Dance doctors until the next time.
Yes.
I like that, dance doctors. Cool.
Yes. Julie Sanders said, is that one head one person with 4 legs is how I heard it described, and one person with 4 legs and 2 heads.
You still got 2 heads though.
Still got 2 heads.
Yeah, you still got
Yeah.
2 heads.
Yeah.
Can't have 1 head.
No,
it doesn't
can't have
work.
1 head. No.
You got to balance up the scales.
You have. Okay, so we're going to love you and leave you. Well, we're going to leave you. We're going to leave you.
Oh, he's being mean tonight.
Yeah. Babs & Co says, thank you, very informative, but I'll probably forget it all. Well, if you're going to forget it, don't worry, because this is all recorded and replayed to your heart's content on YouTube. So you can watch it back at any time.
Yeah.
Which is wonderful, isn't it?
And we sort of envisage, even when we can teach in person, that we might do some more videos because we feel like it's going to be something that's going to
Well, I've learned how to do it.
Yeah.
I've learned how to process it all. And
So you'll have some reference material.
Hopefully.
Not necessarily all... Well, I don't know. We don't know.
I don't know. Who knows?
We'll see.
Hopefully
See how
I
it
won't
develops.
have time. Hopefully I'll have so many lessons to do because everyone will be desperate to actually physically really dance.
That would be nice. I
That'd
think
be
everyone
nice.
is quite desperate to do that.
Well, I hope so. Please have lessons, please. We're desperate, please. Says I drinking my cocktail. But yes, you've all got to dance more and wear a dress, everyone. Yes. Don't forget, t-shirts are available. Yes. Anyway, right, we're going to go now. That's it now. We'll see you more later. See you later, everyone.
See you next week.
Don't forget, Matteo and Jessica are online on Sunday. 6:30. 2-hour session with them. And then Tuesday with them as well. But Jessica's going to do some stretching, so she'll contort herself into all sorts of weird and wonderful positions.
I know.
It's with a smile on her face as well.
It's
that's the thing,
ridiculous.
it's crazy, isn't it?
It's ridiculous. She can be that flexible.
Yeah, and then Wednesday you've got me again at 7 o'clock, and I'll make sure that the recap camera is not on time lapse. We don't want another Benny Hill incident. And then Thursday again, Matteo and Jessica with a little bit of Latin fusion. Us again next Friday. We're back to as it is. Yeah.
So for a little bit longer. Little bit longer.
Yeah, a little bit longer. Well, no, 3 months really.
Well, I know, but that's a little bit compared to a year. Well, still a quarter of a year, isn't it? Oh my God.
Yeah, it's crazy, Kel. Crazy.
On and on and on and on.
Crazy.
Anyway,
But we can go to Sainsbury's.
we can go
We
to
go to
Sainsbury's.
McDonald's, but we can't stand
eat
at one end of a
McDonald's.
60-foot by 40-foot studio.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, on that bombshell,
On that bombshell.
we are going to go.
I'm just
See you later,
repeating
everyone.
what you're saying,
Yeah,
aren't I?
well, it's good night from me.
And it's good night from him.
See you next week.
Bye.